In the dim light of his cluttered study in London, Dr. Elias Hawthorne stared at the yellowed photograph, his fingers tracing the edges as if they could summon the past. The image captured a moment from another life. A young man in his 20s, grinning broadly, with his arm draped over the shoulder of a baby elephant. The calf's trunk curled playfully around the man's waist, its eyes sparkling with mischief. That young man was Elias, 40 years ago, in the heart of the Kenyan savannah. The elephant was Kibo, a name Elias had given him, meaning summit in Swahili, for the way the little one always aimed high, reaching for leaves on the tallest branches. Elias was now 65, a retired zoologist whose career had taken him from field research to lecture halls and boardrooms. He'd authored books on animal behavior, advised governments on conservation, and even testified before the United Nations on poaching threats. But amid all the accolades, there was a void, a silent ache for the wild places he'd left behind and the creatures that had shaped him. Kibo was chief among them. Rescued as an orphaned calf from poachers who had slaughtered his mother, Kibo had been entrusted to Elias at the Amboseli Wildlife Sanctuary. For 3 years, Elias had been his surrogate parent, bottle-feeding him, teaching him to forage and playing endless games that forged a bond deeper than words. Life, however, had other plans. A scholarship pulled Elias to Cambridge. Elias had promised himself he'd return, but wars, family obligations, and the relentless march of time intervened. Decades passed without news. Until now. The email had arrived 2 weeks earlier from Dr. Aisha Ndariba, the current director of Amboseli. "We've had sightings of an elderly bull elephant that matches descriptions from old records," she wrote. "Markings on his ears and tusks suggest it could be Kibo. He's been wandering the periphery of the sanctuary, as if searching for something or someone, his skin etched with the lines of a hard life." Elias's heart had skipped. Could it be? Packing his bags, Elias boarded a flight to Nairobi, doubt gnawing at him. Elephants live long, up to 70 years, but memories faded, even for them. What if Kibo had forgotten? Or worse, what if the wild had turned him wary, aggressive? Elias clutched the old photo in his pocket like a talisman as the plane descended over the vast African plains. Upon arrival, the heat and dust enveloped him like an old friend. Aisha met him at the airport. A vibrant woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense demeanor honed from years battling poachers and bureaucrats. "Dr. Hawthorne, it's an honor," she said, shaking his hand firmly. "My father, Jomo Ndariba, spoke of you often. He was the head ranger when you were here." Jomo Elias smiled wistfully. The man had been like a brother, teaching him Swahili phrases and survival skills. "How is he?" Elias asked. "Retired, but still sharp. He'll join us tomorrow." Aisha drove them toward Amboseli, the snow-capped peak of Mount Kilimanjaro looming in the distance. The landscape had changed more roads. Tourist lodges, but the acacia trees and endless grasslands stirred something primal in Elias. As they neared the sanctuary, Shisha cautioned him. "Kibo Whiffet as him has led a wild life. He's the patriarch of a small herd now. Elephants remember, but trauma can alter them. Poachers nearly got him twice in the 90s. Be prepared for disappointment." Elias nodded, but his resolve hardened. "I have to try." Sanctuary buzzed with activity. Rangers patrolling on ATVs, researchers tagging birds, and a group of schoolchildren on a field trip. Elias felt out of place, an old man in khakis, amid the youthful energy. Aisha led him to the old ranger hut, where he'd once lived, a simple structure, now upgraded with solar panels and Wi-Fi. Inside, memories flooded back. The creaky bed where he'd collapsed after long days, the kitchen table where he'd planned feeding schedules. Elias pulled out the photo and showed it to Aisha. This was us. He'd follow me everywhere, trumpeting if I strayed too far. Aisha's eyes softened. "Dad told stories about your games. Hide and seek in the bush, right? Kibo always won." Elias chuckled. He had a trunk, like a periscope. Cheated every time. They spent the afternoon touring. The sanctuary had expanded to 8,000 acres, home to over 1,500 elephants. Elias paused at the watering hole where he'd first bottle-fed Kibo, watching a mother elephant guide her calf. It reminded him of Kibo's playful splashes, how he'd spray water to cool Elias on hot days. That evening, Jomo arrived, his hair silver, but his grip strong. They embraced, laughing over shared tales. "You look like a city slicker now," Jomo teased, "but I see the fire in your eyes." Still the elephant boy. Over dinner golly and stew they reminisced. Jomo recounted Kibo's relocation. He adapted well, became a leader. But he always seemed restless, like part of him was waiting. Elias shared his life, marriage, divorce, 2 grown children who rarely visited. "I never forgot him," he admitted. Every lecture, every book, it was for Kibo. Jomo's expression grew serious. "Time changes us all. Kibo's seen death droughts, lions, men with guns. Don't expect the pup you knew." Elias slept fitfully, dreaming of Kibo's trumpets echoing across the savannah. The next day dawned with a golden hue. Aisha organized a jeep safari to the outskirts where Kibo's herd had been spotted. Elias's pulse quickened as they bounced over rutted tracks, passing giraffes and zebras. "There," Aisha pointed. A group of elephants grazed under an acacia grove. In the center stood a colossal bull, his tusks curving like scimitars, ears fanned out. Scars crisscrossed his hide battle wounds from rivals or poachers. Elias's breath caught. The notched ear, the distinctive spot on his trunket, was Kibo. "Him," he whispered. They parked at a safe distance. Elias stepped out, photo in hand, and called softly, "Kibo. Old friend, it's me." The elephant paused, trunk sniffing the air. His head turned, eyes locking on Elias. For a heartbeat, time stopped. Then Kibo resumed grazing, indifferent. Disappointment stabbed Elias. Aisha touched his arm. "Give it time." Elephants process slowly. They watched for hours. Kibo interacted with his herd-nudging calves, sharing food. Elias noted his authority, the way younger bulls deferred. It was a far cry from the clumsy calf he'd known. As sunset painted the sky, Kibo wandered closer to the jeep, perhaps curious about the humans. Elias tried again, humming an old tune he'd sung to soothe Kibo as a Babia Swahili lullaby about the moon and stars. Kibo's ears perked. He rumbled low, a vibration Elias felt in his chest. It was recognition. Or warning. "Let's not push," Jomo advised. "Tomorrow, we try something more." Inspired by memories, Elias suggested recreating old routines. The next morning, they headed to a secluded glade. Armed with a bag of Kibo's favorite treats, baobab fruits and acacia pods sourced from old logs. Kibo's herd was nearby. Elias hid behind a termite mound, peeking out like in their hide-and-seek days. "Come find me, boy." At first, nothing. Then Kibo detached from the group, trunk swinging. He approached slowly, pausing to sniff. Elias's heart raced. Kibo circled the mound, then extended his trunk, gently touching Elias's shoulder. Tears welled. "You remember?" But the moment shattered. A young bull from the herd charged, trumpeting aggression, perhaps seeing Elias as a threat. Kibo positioned himself between them, ears flared, rumbling deeply. The bull backed off. Aisha whistled. "He's protecting you." Incredible. Emboldened, Elias produced an old brass bell from his pack, the one used for training calls. He rang it, the chime echoing. Kibo froze, then knelt, pressing his forehead to Elias's chest in a bow of trust. Elias stroked his trunk, whispering, "I've missed you, summit climber." The herd watched warily, but Kibo lingered, allowing Elias closer than any wild elephant should. Word spread through the sanctuary. Tourists flocked for glimpses of the reunion elephant. Elias spent days with Kibo under ranger supervision. They walked old paths, Elias recounting stories, Kibo responding with rumbles and touches. But challenges arose. Kibo's wild instincts clashed with sanctuary rules. He led his herd into restricted areas, drawn to Elias. Poacher rumors surfaced every, hunters eyeing Kibo's tusks. One night alarms blared. "Poachers, had breached the fence. Elias joined the chase, jeep racing through darkness. Gunshots echoed. They found Kibo's herd scattered, a calf wounded. Elias tended the calf, Kibo hovering protectively. In the chaos, Kibo lifted Elias onto his Baka rare, intimate gesture, carrying him to safety as rangers drove off the intruders. The incident deepened their bond but highlighted dangers. Aisha warned, "He's putting himself at risk for you. We may need to relocate him again." Elias refused. "Not without me." Subplots unfolded. Elias reconnected with his estranged daughter, Sarah, who flew in from New York. Skeptical at first, she witnessed the bond and softened, healing family rifts. Meanwhile, a rival researcher, Dr. Victor Lang, jealous of Elias's fame, questioned the reunion's authenticity, claiming it was staged for publicity. Media frenzy ensued, with reporters camping out. Amid this, Kibo fell ill parasites from drought-weakened water. Elias nursed him, using old remedies Jomo taught. In a tense vigil, Kibo's fever broke as Elias sang the lullaby, trunk entwined with his hand. Conflicts peaked when poachers returned, kidnapping a calf for the ivory trade. Elias, Aisha, and Kibo's herd tracked them. In a dramatic confrontation, Kibo charged, scattering the poachers. Elias freed the calf, but sustained a broken arm from a fall. Kibo's gentle care during recovery, bringing shade with branches, cemented their legend. Months passed. Elias extended his stay, collaborating on conservation projects. Kibo integrated partially into sanctuary life, his herd benefiting from protection. In a final test, Elias organized a memory walk, retracing their original paths. Kibo led, stopping at significant spots: the rescue site, the first feeding ground. At the summit of a hill overlooking Kilimanjaro, Kibo trumpeted triumphantly. Elias, arm healed, stood beside him. "We've come full circle, old friend." Sarah, Jomo, and Aisha joined, toasting to enduring bonds. Elias decided to stay in Kenya, founding a research center in Kibo's name. As stars emerged, Kibo rumbled contentedly, trunk on Elias's shoulder. Love, like the savannah, endured. Thanks so much for listening. See you in the next video. Have a great day.